So we are looking at this channel called MinuteVideos. Sorry if you hear my dogs barking and stuff. They're loud, but today we're going to be looking at a couple of videos. We're going to be looking at I became something for Instagram and doctor's ear almost killed me. So we're going to be looking at those. So we're going to do the Instagram one first.
I am so jealous of you. Everything always looks so good on you, is what friends often say to me. I am so jealous of you.
Okay,
Everything
accidentally
always
ruined
looks
it.
so good on you, is what friends often say to me. But do you know what I've been through to get this body? Follow me, and I'll tell you my story. I used to be the girl in school that nobody noticed. All of the boys would just look right past me. I wasn't even popular in my own group of friends.
Well,
I
that's
was
sad.
invisible. I used to feel a little down about that, but it was my goal to get into the best university possible. And when I set my mind to something, I do everything in my power to achieve it.
That's amazing.
My priority was to first get into my dream college, and then I could worry about my appearance. I asked my parents for their permission to get cosmetic surgery if I was accepted into the university, and they agreed and gave me their blessing. So from that moment on, I focused all of my time and all of my energy into studying to pass the entrance exams. And once I was accepted, they were so proud as they knew how much work I had put into getting there.
That's amazing. That's
But
just
I was
good.
still a long ways away from achieving my dream. There were 2 more obstacles I still had to overcome. First was my face. So I had the surgery to add an extra layer onto my eyes, to raise the bridge of my nose, and to make my face into the V shape. All the things that seems to be what people consider beautiful. When I was done, I looked like a completely different person. But then I was left with the part that stressed me out the most, losing the weight.
Girl, you're
Because even
perfect.
though my face was beautiful, if I'm still fat, no one will consider me beautiful. This is the social convention. You have to be skinny to be beautiful.
No, you
It
don't.
didn't help that most of the boys in the university liked to tease me. Chubby, they'd call me. Piggy, they'd tease.
If people say that to you, they're chubby, they're piggy. Like, don't believe what they say. Turn it around and make them what they're calling you, because that's what they really are and what they're called. Most of the time, bullies are like sad, depressed, and want to bring down everyone with them and feel empowered. So just don't listen to
Joked
them.
around about my big arms and big legs. My friends said they were just joking and not to take it seriously. But as time went on, I had no more confidence and no more self-esteem. So I had to be skinny. I watched clips online to teach me how to exercise, and I used the entire summer break to lose the weight. At first, I was so exhausted and everything hurt. I almost gave up. But I kept myself inspired by constantly looking at all these beautiful and fit girls on Instagram. I figured if I could look like them, people would notice me. I could wear anything I wanted, but most importantly, I could finally show the people that teased me about my body that they were wrong.
That's good.
Once university started,
She has
I was the
goals.
center of attention. Girls looked at me with jealousy, and so many boys kept asking me for my phone number. Even my clothes were getting smaller. But it wasn't enough. When I was nominated as the queen for the summer ball, I started to worry even more that I wouldn't win. I still believed my body wasn't perfect yet, and exercising just wasn't enough anymore. So I started to control my diet. I ate less and was more picky about what I was eating.
Why?
I ended up losing weight even faster than I did from exercising. People were telling me I was too skinny, but I didn't believe them. I'm not skinny. What are you talking about? Of course, I won the queen of the summer ball. I worked so hard for it. Everyone was congratulating me, but all I could think about was that I had to work even harder. That I'm still fat, and if I'm not careful, I would go back to being invisible again. I had to exercise more and control my diet more. So I started to work out not just in the evening, but also in the morning. I didn't eat anything that had carbohydrates or fat in it. For lunch, I would eat fruit or a box of milk, and for dinner, I had just a glass of water. I was so obsessed with how I looked. I really believed that if I missed a workout or ate more than I was supposed to, I would go back to being fat again. While I was obsessing about my weight, I was just ignoring all these other strange symptoms that were occurring. My period had stopped coming for months. I was losing so much hair. I was cold. I was always cold. My skin was starting to peel, and I was struggling in every single class to focus. My grades had dropped so far and so fast that nobody could believe it. A lot of people noticed the change. I kept hearing that I was too skinny, I wasn't the same, I wasn't as pretty as I used to be. I couldn't accept it and would just tell them that they didn't know what they were talking about. I lost a lot of friends that time. I cried almost every day. I really didn't know what they were talking about. I couldn't see what was so skinny about me. When I looked in the mirror, I still looked fat. So I thought they must have just been jealous. Hi, honey. I woke up to see my mother standing next to me. She looked sad and concerned. Then I looked around. Why do I have so many tubes in my arms? What's happening? The last thing I remembered, I was exercising. I was diagnosed with anorexia. I couldn't believe it, but I knew my condition must have been serious when I could no longer feed myself and I had to be fed through tubes. I was in the hospital for weeks. I even had to drop out of school, and my mom even had to quit her job just to take care of me.
Wow.
But it's been a year now, and I'm fully recovered and finally back in university. I've really learned how little value other people's opinions have. The most important things are the love you have from friends and family, but what's even more important is the love that you have for yourself. I am me, and I am beautiful in my own way, and I don't feel the need to have to follow society or trends about being skinny. Why do I need people who only love me for how I look anyway? It's
Exactly.
been a long journey getting here. I really hope that my story can help to warn people that are about to fall into the same trap.
That is really, really good. Now, let's look at this one. Oh, shoot. No.
Lying in total darkness.
No,
and
it was the wrong
unaware of his
one.
current
Wrong one.
situation.
Wrong one. Here we go.
Dear Diary, after 12 silent years, I am finally ready to share with you my difficult diagnosis story, the beginning of my diabetic life. I was 10 years old and away on a school trip when my symptoms quickly started to show. I didn't think too much about it at the time, but I became incredibly thirsty and horrendously dehydrated. I needed to pee every 5 minutes, I was lethargic, terribly tired, and was drastically losing weight. All of these symptoms are signs of type 1 diabetes, and if left untreated can cause coma or even death. When I returned home, my parents knew almost instantly that something wasn't right. They took me straight to the doctors. But unfortunately, my symptoms were mistaken for a virus instead, and I was told to go home and rest. I tried, but I couldn't get a single minute of sleep in because every single part of me was throbbing. I was weak and incredibly tired. Overnight, my condition rapidly deteriorated. I
Alright.
remember feeling scared at first, but as
Cold.
time slowly passed, I couldn't think about anything other than the fact that I felt like I was dying. That's because I was. Over the next few hours, I became violently sick. I was dehydrated and frail. No matter how much water I tried to drink, none of it was staying in my body. Even now, I can still see the painfully ill little girl slumped over the toilet seat, crying for it all to go away. But it didn't go away, and it never will go away. By now, my mom was in a state of panic. She had that gut-aching motherly instinct that told her something wasn't right, that it was more than just a virus, and that her little girl was seriously ill. My mom thought it had to be type 1 diabetes, but our family and friends confidently reassured her that she was wrong, that we couldn't have that much bad luck, as my brave mom was fighting cancer at the same time. She was battling for her life while worrying and trying to save mine. Now convinced and running out of options, my mom asked our neighbor to come over to the house and test my blood sugar, as her daughter was also a type 1 diabetic. I could still see the heartbreak and horror on my mother's face when she read the results. My blood sugar was so high, the meter couldn't even read it. A non-diabetic's blood sugar should be between 4 to 8 millimoles. Mine was higher than 40. My mom ran to the phone and called the hospital, begging for someone to help. The nurse on the phone told her we didn't have time to wait for an ambulance anymore. We needed to get to the hospital immediately, and I needed to be kept awake. By now, I was drifting in and out of consciousness, and my hazed memory only let me recall certain moments of that terrifying car journey. When we got to the emergency room, my mom flung out of the car, scooped me up in her arms, and ran towards the door. I remember her screaming for help while a sea of people rushed towards me. A man with a broken leg who was sitting in his wheelchair instantly lifted himself out so that my mother could place me down. I was rushed into the emergency room and placed on a bed. I remember trying to find the strength to cry, to ask, what is wrong with me? To ask if I was gonna die, but I couldn't even do that. Within minutes, doctors began inserting tubes, wires, needles, and hooking me onto machines.
Wow.
Dozens of doctors, consultants, and nurses were huddled at my bedside with machines screaming in my ears. At 10 years old, I knew that I was in trouble, and I was terrified. The doctors explained that my blood sugar and ketone levels were too high to read.
Wow.
And this is where it gets scary. I was in the late
God.
stages of diabetic ketoacidosis, DKA for short, a life-threatening complication for type 1 diabetes.
Wow.
DKA occurs when there is not enough
That
insulin
doctor
in the body,
should be
which is
fired.
produced by the pancreas and causes...
That doctor that said that, oh no, it's a virus, should be fired. Like legit, just fired out of existence of doctors in the medical army or anything. No, just get him out. Get him out. Fire him.
Your blood to turn acidic and therefore poisonous. When this happens, an immense strain is put on your body's organs. Your heart, lungs, and kidney can all fail, which was what was happening to me. You can fall into a coma, and death can be a very realistic outcome.
Oh no.
The ER doctors were able to stabilize me and transfer me to a children's intensive care unit where my dad asked the doctors, "Is my little girl going to be okay?" Their reply was, "Sir, I can't tell you that. Your daughter is in critical condition and the next 24 hours will be crucial." When I look back on that day, I feel sad, but more than anything, sad for my parents. I cannot even imagine how they felt being told that their little girl might not make it through the night. For any parent, it's something you never want to experience for yours or anyone else's young child. Seeing the sheer pain embedded in my mom's face is something I find difficult to erase. It's something I'm going to carry with me forever. The rest of that night was a blur, a painful, emotional blur. When I woke up, I realized that I was living what seemed at the time a terrifying nightmare, one that you couldn't escape or run from. It was a nightmare in a constant loop, and I was in the middle of it all. It was overwhelmingly real and intense, but as the days went on, slowly, I regained my strength. Before I was released from the hospital, the nurse told my mom that I'd need injections for the rest of my life. It's a burden that comes with every type 1 diabetic. We live in the constant pattern of insulin injections, carefully managed diets, and constant monitoring of daily blood glucose tests. No matter how hard we maintain a healthy lifestyle or exercise, it will never go away. I am reminded of this nearly 10 times a day when I'd look down at my pin-pricked finger and stare into a machine to tell me if I'd need to inject myself. I've struggled my entire life to accept this lifelong condition. I carried the weight of the world on my shoulder, but now, after years of anger, hurt, and shame, I've learned to be proud of every bit of who I am. I am a fighter, and nearly 12 years later, I feel stronger than ever. I am here, I am alive. And although I have a condition that will never go away, it's okay. I am okay. I'm not ashamed or embarrassed to shout out from the rooftops about my condition, because I won't let it take any part of me away again. I am brave, resilient, and unstoppable. And if you think type 1 diabetes or any other disease is ever going to hold you back, my God, are you wrong?
That is an amazing story. I hope this inspired you all to not listen to others say for Instagram, and always be proud of who you are. But that's it, guys. I hope you liked this video. If you did, smash that subscribe button and click that ding-a-ling ding-dong bell so you get notifications when I post new videos. And I hope you enjoyed. So bye.